Welcome to Formula One. Here we are with my avatar in the game and my custom helmet, number 23, with the Philippines sun and stars on the top.
Welcome to this afternoon's qualifying session here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. And as we wait, poised for the start of what will hopefully be a thrilling qualifying, why don't you tell us, Anthony Davidson, about the things you can do to really get the most out of a car in a session like this?
Well, you're largely limited by the Parc Fermé regulations, of course. Back in the old days, pre-2004, you'd work on both a qualifying setup and a race setup over practice, and then swap them over after qualifying. So the race car was quite different at times to the qualifying car. Nowadays, though, you have to find a compromise that works for both. There are a few things that you can still adjust during the session, such as the differential, the brake bias, and the front wing angle, but that's about it. So it's more about optimizing what you do have and adapting your own style to suit the track conditions.
Okay, we know it's going to be a struggle to get out of this session, but give it your best shot.
Here we are in the car. We're strapped in and we're ready to go. This is the first of 3 qualifying sessions, and the slowest 4 cars will be knocked out of further qualifying, and this is Q1. So the weather is partly cloudy. Here we're going to choose from a couple of setups that I have already for the Silverstone track in the McLaren. One of them is a 134.719. That is a time that's set in time trial, and then the other one is a 136.06, and we're going to use that one instead because it's a more realistic setup. With the time trial setups, what you have is
Right now. Let's get out on track while it's clear.
With the time trial setups, what you have is a ideal situation where the fuel and tires and the track temperature are optimal, so that you can get the fastest time out of your car, which is not realistic in the race setting or race session. So here's my setup in brief. It's a pretty tight suspension, and the car sits pretty low, as Silverstone is a pretty smooth track, and it's relatively flat without a lot of elevation change.
Everyone ready?
So here we are, we're ready to go. So this is how I drive. I always drive in the cockpit or the driver's view mode. No T-cam or outside of the vehicle view for me. It just adds to the realism of the game. And I don't play with any assists, so there's no traction control, there's no aid in steering or track guide, there's no ABS. And I have a manual transmission, so if you see the hands working on the steering wheel, that's shifting gears. So here's our out lap. This lap doesn't count, of course, as we came out of the pits. We're just going to see how our setup is fitting to the track with its current conditions. And remember, this setup got us a 136. Here we are through Beckett's. It's the S-curves. And I was a little late there to react to the turns, and that's what happens when you get lazy, is that the back end will react faster than the front end, which is what you're steering. And that is the second of the DRS zones. The DRS zone is where you can actually lift a panel on the rear wing so that it creates less drag and it creates less downforce, but it allows you to reach a higher top speed. Here we are in the start-finish line, and we're going to start our first lap. The first turn there is a flat turn, meaning that we don't lift, we don't brake. Here we are through one of the two slow sections on the track, which opens up into the first DRS zone, which is right here. So we press the button there with our left hand, and the flap will open up. Brake hard. This is a fourth gear turn, but you can also do it in third if you want to accelerate, shoot out of this turn a little faster. And as wide right, you can set up your car so that it's got enough downforce to make it through there flat, meaning that you don't lift. But you'll end up being a little bit slower on some of the straights. And the McLaren is already slow in the straight, so I don't want to add more grip. And here we are in our second DRS zone again. So I don't want to add more grip to slow the car down. I'd rather just downshift, I guess, and make it through the turn a little bit faster that way. So here we are to complete our first lap, and what we get is a 135. And with Q1, we just have to be one of the top 15 fastest times. Right now it's showing that we're 8th. Of course, it's early in the qualifying session, so you can expect that we'll be pushed back with that time. We're trying it here in fourth gear, and the fourth gear will push you out if you do any kind of acceleration, and that's why sometimes you may choose to go in third gear. There is a trick to make it through here, the Beckett's complex, but if you miss one turn, you will miss all of them. So we did another fast time there, 135.319. Not that much faster, but it's still keeping us in the top 10. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to watch the times to see how far off we are from the fastest car on the track. We have, I believe, 15 minutes here in the first session, but we really don't want to be driving the car throughout the whole 15 minutes time. What we're doing is we're creating wear and tear on the car, the tires, the brakes, and we don't really want to do that, so we would like to get in here and set up a fast time so that we're in the game, and then park it for the rest of the session and wait for the next one. So when we're satisfied here that we've got a fast enough time, we're just going to go back to the garage and move on to the next session if we can make it. And that's a good example of how to make it through that complex there. So we're in P8. We actually got a 134 with the super soft tires. So we're quite happy with that, and we are actually in the 8th place with that time. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go back to the garage and wait for Q1 to expire. So we're in qualifying session 2. The previous time and anything we did before then is scratched, so we're going to have to set another fastest time here, and to continue to Q3 you have to be top 10, one of the top 10 fastest times. So we'll have cars knocked out here, and we just want to make sure that we are in Q3. We're making an adjustment there to our differential. If you have a high percentage, you can actually accelerate a little bit harder, but it kind of limits you. It's a little bit harder to get into a turn. So that's something that you may find yourself adjusting for 1 or 2 turns throughout the race. There are some times when I'm driving and throughout the race, which may be 60 or 70 something laps, I have to adjust the fuel mixture just to be fast enough at a certain portion of the track. And you'll have to do that with the limited slip just as well. So when you're setting up your steering wheel for this game, that's something that you consider highly in doing, so that it's very easy to get to, because if you use the original buttons to adjust it, you have to press a couple of different buttons before you get to the adjustment itself. So you want to dedicate those for the differential and for the fuel mixture. So we've got a pretty good lap going here. And it puts us in 7th place. It's definitely not the fastest time. Actually, it's slower than our Q1 session, so we're going to keep going. Obviously, we know that we have to be faster in Q2 than we were in Q1. DRS. Brake hard. We're going to end up in 4th gear here, and we may at this point go into 3rd gear if we find the car's pushing, but we're on the super soft, so it's gripping very well. DRS again, and right now we're about a second, 1.1 seconds faster than our fastest time. So you can see there on the upper right of the screen that our time is in green, which indicates that we are faster than our fastest time. 3rd gear through here, going to 4th immediately, across the start finish line, and we are 5th. That gives us another 134, so we're happy with that, and we're going to go back to the garage. So now the weather's cloudy, and you can see here that Sebastian Vettel is putting in his fastest time, and we happen to be in 8th place, which is not bad. So Q3, we made it to Q3 with an 8th place time. way through the last turn. Cross the start-finish line. Lap through here. Brake hard. And one of the things about sitting in the cockpit view is that you can't really see too far ahead, but it's really just what the driver sees, and what you see here is my field of view. And really, when you're driving a car, you might see about 15 degrees, so there's really no need to go wider than this. And a driver will turn his head to look into the mirror, so unless we're looking into the mirror, we wouldn't see the mirrors in our regular driving. So here we are in our first lap. We're a little off there, but the rules don't seem to count there. It's letting us get away with going off track. Fifth gear through the last part. Accelerate in the DRS zone. Another 134 time, so that's quite satisfactory. I believe the fastest times that are being set right now are in the 132s. So again, we're happy with that. The McLaren can be 2 to 2.5 seconds slower than the fastest time. So when we are in the top 10, we're pretty happy about it. Shot a little wide there, but we're still in a fast lap here. And there's an example of when fourth gear will just push you out through there. So early on, when you're going through that turn, you kind of have to decide whether you want to do that in fourth or third. At least with third gear, you can stay within the turn, but if you are in fourth gear and you accelerate, it will definitely push you out. So I think we're happy with this time here with a 8th place. Again, the McLaren can be sometimes 2 or 2.5 seconds behind the fastest car, so to be in 8th place is a pretty satisfactory time.
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
And here I thought he said that we were low on fuel, so you will see that I will give up here, and which is fine because we actually have a satisfactory time, and I don't really think that I can get pole with a McLaren anyway, being that again it's slower than some of the fastest times.
We're low on fuel. We'll need to return to the pits within the next couple of laps.
Here's when I thought he said that we were out of fuel, so I kind of just brought my speed down and returned to the garage. So that's what it takes to qualify.
Our best lap so far is a 1:34.2.
And for the British Grand Prix, I have achieved 8th fastest time, so it's a pretty good starting spot. We were kind of in the middle of the field, so there's a lot of danger there, I guess, if you want to call it that, when the start comes along tomorrow. But it's better than being last. Hey, thanks for joining us here at Immersion OZ for the British Grand Prix. Let us know what you think of the video, and comment or like or share. Let us know.